Oh, what a day! What a lovely day!
Welcome to Flat Earth Debate Uncut and After Show. I'm your host Nathan Oakley, and if you are new to this channel, or you've not done so already, how dare you, then be sure to subscribe and hit the bell notification icon to keep up to date with the Flat Earth Debate. If you'd like to support the channel, there is a super chat that runs alongside each of these shows while they premiere. There's also a PayPal, Patreon and crypto link in the info box below the video. Speaking of Patreon, I'm going to do a very quick shout out to all of you who do support me on Patreon. So a massive shout out to Abraham Muhammad, Adrian Quintana, Alistair Main, Billy Highvault, Burn Fat Till My Stomach Is As Flat As the Earth, Chow Young Cat, Dank, Dave Rakia Gafford, David Wayne Foster, Edwin Johnson, Erwin Jennisons, Felix Hung, Fireball X, God Rockin, Henrik 86, Jeranism, Joshua Balsimo, Kirsten Smith, Liam Nedrick, Life is Short, Matt, Nagara, Naibai, Qatar Craig, Reinhardt, Renee, Sally Ballis, Silver Umbrella, Skeptic936, Texas Mike, The Flat Earth, Sun, Moon and Zodiac Clock App, TheFlatEarthChannel.com, Tina Baker and Tom Herkins. So a massive shout out of appreciation to all of you for supporting me on Patreon. We do have Flatzoid, I believe, in G+, and a couple of people in Discord. So, can you hear me, Flatzoid? Are you there?
Hello, good afternoon.
Or anybody in Discord? Has one been taken off mute? Yes, he has. Hello, hello.
Is everybody off mute?
Yep, I'm in Discord.
Good to have you all.
Hi, Jen.
Hey, how you doing, Flashlight?
I can just hear Flatzoid taping up boxes.
Jen, why are you in Discord today?
My iPad does this sometimes.
Okay.
Jolly good. My prop yesterday was a Lego advent calendar. Not that you guys saw that while I was doing the intro. But I pretended
You're going to post a pic.
I pretended it was a
Post
present.
a picture of it.
There's no real point. It was used as a prop. So, you know, Christmas Day, opening a present. What have I got? Oh, it's a Star Wars Lego set. Well, actually, no. It was a Star Wars Lego advent calendar.
Well, you had to have the prop to have the show in advance of the date.
Exactly. So it's like, well, what shall I wrap up? I need something that's like fairly benign. It's just showing that it's Christmas time, you know. But you know,
Yeah.
it doesn't need to be something extremely humorous. But by the same token, it would be useful if I had a bit of irony to it. Just like, why don't you wrap up the Star Wars Lego? My wife, that is. I was like, oh yeah, Star Wars Lego. That's kind of appropriate. Yeah, cool. That'll do.
Oh, Star Wars.
I started playing PUBG again yesterday. Having fun flat smacking people while I shoot them.
Did you say?
What did you say?
While you shoot them?
Yeah, while I'm shooting them, I'm throwing the facts at them.
For forced attrition, you stick a gun to their head and say, understand the earth is flat or you'll die.
You know, if you shoot them, if they're injured enough, then they crawl around waiting to get healed. While they're doing that, you just stand by them and you're throwing them at all. Water is always level. You can't have gas pressure next to a container without, you know, without gas, with a vacuum, without a container. You just throw them and they're just like, earth is flat. You know, just smacking them. Just hear some of them. Oh, the comments you get. I should actually take a video sometime.
Sounds like a chat room.
Yeah, or Usually, because before everybody's on a plane flight together before they jump out the plane, and the comms are usually open as well. That's also a good
What are you
place to start.
talking about? What do you mean people on the plane fight before they jump out of the plane?
I'm totally lost. What are you talking about? Are you saying that you instruct people in jumping out of planes?
Yeah, in PUBG. Don't you know PUBG, the game?
Oh, in PUBG.
Yeah.
Oh, now it all makes sense. When you shoot somebody, when you jump out of a plane, this is in a game.
No. Didn't you hear it was a game?
So, wow, it's hard to understand with your heavy accent. Are you saying you found Newton's G in the plane?
No, we're just very dense.
So it's a game called PUBG. It's a very, very popular video game.
Yeah.
First time I heard it.
Yeah, I haven't played for a long time. Yesterday I said, let me play again. So I start flat making people while I play. It's actually quite fun.
So it allows you to choose your own characters and write your own script?
Yeah, but that's not the point he's making. The point he's making is while he's playing this game, it could be anything. He's on TeamSpeak or Discord or whatever he's connected to the other players with, and he's saying, while they're running around shooting people on the map, did you know the Earth is flat? Did you know you can't have gas pressure without a container? That's what he's saying.
I see. So it's an online game with others. Okay, I get it now.
Yeah. It's quite funny though, the reactions you get.
Well, that's when they stop playing and you shoot them because you got them off guard, right? By saying those things. It's a nice strategy of yours.
Well, I've had a lot of teammates that just decided to disconnect after that.
Oh, it'll take a while, but now I know what you're doing.
Sorry, next time I'll try to talk slower.
Yeah, it helps.
We mentioned this the other day. Mark Sargent put out a video where somebody's doing something similar. So he's streaming a game on YouTube. So rather than sort of just playing it and talking on TeamSpeak to the people in the game, this particular dude's streaming it on YouTube whilst doing the same thing. But his chat room is full of people saying the Earth's flat. So he stops proceedings, does a straw poll. How many of you actually think the Earth is a flat? Let's do a straw poll. Question A, Earth is flat. Question B, Earth is a sphere. He puts it out, and the majority, over 50%, said they thought it was flat. Which I thought was great.
That's great.
That's awesome. Yep, the tide is turning. P-Brain put up a video that Sleeping Warrior shared by gas pressure next to a vacuum.
With the bromine?
No, just look up, he said. It's a short video. Just look up in the sky, and you got millions and millions of miles of supposed outer space, a vacuum, right next to the atmosphere of Earth, and this thin layer of atmosphere is not filling the available space. It's just our argument, but he's just saying it with imagery.
Cool. Very cool.
Well, it's like what you did with that one guy. Look up. Same thing.
I don't know, it gets a time. I mean, Anthony also is obviously dealing with various different legal things, both in education and in practical application, on an almost daily basis. I mean, it's what he does. He doesn't tend to talk about it a great deal unless it's completely on topic, but he's doing those things regularly. So I don't know where he gets the time to make videos. I mean, when he makes these edited videos, I know for a fact they take hours to produce. Like a 10-minute video will take at least a couple of hours. Yeah, you can rattle off some garbage in half an hour, but, you know, Anthony tends to put a reasonable amount of work into them, finding the material, putting them together. I just don't know where he gets the time. I don't know how he does it.
Mm-hmm. Well, he's wired that way. He can't do it any other way because it's not satisfactory to his own conscience.
Right. He's dealing with a really fascinating, how can I phrase this, legal instance at the moment. Obviously, I can't repeat any of the details of it, but it's fascinating when he calls me up and tells me about it. Maybe he'll reveal information about it in the future. I don't know. Maybe not.
Well, he'll be happy because Liverpool won last night.
What, 5-0 against Everton?
5-2. I
Was it
think it was
5-2?
5-2.
Oh, okay. He did mention it to me, which is why I've got a vague idea what the score is.
Of course, he mentioned it to you.
He starts off by saying, "Did you watch the football?" I'm like, "No, of course
Knowing
not."
that you don't.
Knowing that I haven't got Vegas, I haven't got a telly. So no, I didn't.
That's right. Oh, man. Yeah, I mean, each day there are 8 housekeeping questions are out there. No one's answered them. And yesterday, for a future show, people will hear 11 questions somebody put from the globe side to the flat earthers, and you opened it up to the panel, and it got answered lickety split. It didn't take much time.
I was very impressed with that. Don't talk about it too much because that won't actually get aired for another 3 weeks.
No, I know. That's why I kept it that way.
Yeah,
But-
but then don't you think it's quite sad how desperate they are to try and make their own questions?
Well, no, it's fine. Bring them all. Bring all questions. We're seeking truth. I mean, I will give up anything I hold dear if what I hold dear is false.
Try to keep yourself on mute while someone else is talking. Your background noise is absolutely horrendous, Flatsoid.
All right.
Thanks.
If a person is not willing to give up what they hold dear, if it's false, then truth is not what they're really seeking. They're stuck in something, but it's not truth that they're seeking. If you're seeking truth, then you give up your biases, your prejudices, your anything. As long as truth is your aim, we got nothing to fear.
So they're not seeking equilibrium.
No.
They're not seeking equilibrium. So are you saying they're not at rest with their globe arguments?
No.
Oh,
the gravity of that statement.
Stress on our side is from abuse by our opponent. Not because we're losing the arguments, not because we don't understand what we're talking about, although that is what they claim. Our stress is purely through ridicule. That's it. That's the only stress. Because there's nothing to stress about in terms of the nature of reality. You're not going to come across something that suddenly doesn't conform with the obvious and observable flat nature of your reality. That's just how it is. Now, believing you're on a ball, having that religion, that is stressful. Not because we attack it, just because it's not real. Hey, Sleeping Warrior.
Hey.
Hello.
Hey, yeah. That's a good win yesterday, Anthony.
Fucking right. 5-2. Fucking amazing, mate.
What are you eating?
A burger on a bun.
We were just talking about you. You were saying, I don't know how you get the time. I was explaining that obviously your profession is based in legality and you're doing that as an education stint at the moment along with the flat earth stuff, and I don't know where you get the time to do it all.
Just gotta be a superhuman. Only the subhumans are on Facebook all day and YouTube trolling accounts. The real people do. I'll tell you what's interesting.
What?
I saw let me finish my burger, I'll come back to you.
Thank you. And this is Anthony will be playing a video game while he does all this at the same time too.
But talking of video games, I suspect what you've been doing, Flatsoid, you're not alone in that. You know, people talk, and their inhibitions are a lot lower when they're on TeamSpeak with a load of random strangers. So your ability to express your views on the nature of Earth is probably escalated quite dramatically when you're on a random forum, semi-distracted by the game you're playing. So I would imagine people are a lot more loose-lipped when they're in those sorts of environments where they can just say what they want to say and there's no real consequences to it. You might get people annoyed, but so what?
It's much better. I must say, it's not so trolly. Quite relaxed.
Well, everyone's got their mind on one thing. They're all looking to achieve an objective within a video game. So you subtly slipping in, you do realise that the sky's not a vacuum, right? The gas would fill the space. No one's going to like stop playing the game and totally engage with that to troll the crap out of you and ridicule you when they're focused on shooting their next objective or gaining a flag or doing whatever you do in PUBG.
I've done work in this area with an athlete concerning automaticity and effortful type of things, meaning your working memory versus your long-term memory. So when someone's playing a video game, it's being occupied. So that allows for other things to occur. So you go on auto mode when you're playing the video game and your automaticity kicks in because you've played the game, you know the rules, you know how it goes. You're not thinking about it. That leaves your working memory to go on other tasks. And so, you know, people think that 100% focus is the way to go when in all actuality, that focus is narrowing down your speed, your reaction time, because you have to think about everything. If you get rid of the thinking about everything, you're not parallel. So you got high speed automaticity on things that you're already skilled in, and everything else goes to that low working memory that can't handle that much. Obviously, everybody was on low working memory while I was talking.
I was just setting up to go live.
Oh, what a day! What a lovely day!
Welcome to Flat Earth Debate Live. I'm your host Nathan Oakley, and if you are new to this channel, or you've not done so already, then be sure to subscribe and hit the bell notification icon to keep up to date with the Flat Earth Debate. If you'd like to support the channel, there is a super chat that runs alongside each of these shows while they are live. There's also a PayPal, Patreon and crypto link in the info box below the video. Most importantly, if you'd like to join the discussion right here, right now, simply mute the page you are currently watching, then click the link in the info box below this video to join the panel and express your views on the nature of Earth. If you do join, please don't swear. If you do, you'll be ejected, and if you are, please don't try to rejoin the stream using sock accounts. You'll be warmly welcome back on the next stream. Please also share the show on social media. Sharing the show obviously increases the live audience, but this in turn increases the chances of a more diverse panel, so please share the show on Facebook and Twitter. And one last time, if you're new to the channel or you've not done so already, then be sure to subscribe and hit the bell notification icon to keep up to date with the Flat Earth Debate. Now we are joined by 10th Man, Sleeping Warrior and Flatsoid in G+, along with a whole bunch of people in Discord. Welcome one and all.
Hello, hello.
Hello, hello.
Hustle to get a few people off Discord, won't be a sec. Hello, Chocolate.
Good morning, guys.
Good morning. Right, enough people off muting Discord now. Any signs of Earth curvature?
From Anaheim.
Good morning.
Good morning.
Earth curve.
Eli.
No.
Sorry, but what is Earth curvature anyway?
Not on Discord.
Earth curvature would be the hijacking of a thing we call perspective.
Sorry, I talked over someone. Go ahead.
I was just saying, Earth curve is just perspective.
Yeah, I agree.
Any signs of axial rotation?
Only the stars, apparently. There's still... what I've noticed is there's a lot of new people in the topic at the minute. And we're still getting the stars in the southern skies being brought up as the explanation. And the only way to deal with them is just say, oh, right, so we're back to 2015 now, are we? And then don't even bother with it.
I'm breaking it down, though. In order to use the stars movement as a proof of Earth's sphericity and rotation, you must first assume Earth is a sphere, and then set your example as follows. If you travel antipodal to where you begin, when you're travelling out to the horizon, then you will experience star rotation. You experience star rotation, therefore, you travelled antipode from where you began. So it assumes sphericity and assumes you're travelling antipodal from whence you began. Even though the stars are always above you, and you don't travel antipodal, that's an assumption. You assume that you'll arrive south hemisphere, that's your first assumption, that you're on a hemisphere. But the second assumption would be that you are, like I say, upside down or antipodal from where you began. Only you're not. The stars are still above you. But that assumption is what will give you that proof, which it isn't. It's an affirming the consequent formal logical fallacy, which begs the question of a sphere Earth in the start of the example. Any scientific evidence of gravity?
What's gravity?
I have no idea. It's just some made up nonsense. Any scientific evidence of it, though?
I don't think so.
No scientific.
I mean, I suppose I do know. They attribute a downward vector force when something's in disequilibrium. That's what they call gravity.
Well, they observe a phenomena, they observe something falling, and they give it a name, and then they give a very long-winded, unscientific explanation for it.
Yeah, just so story. Any evidence of the distance to the sun?
That would be a no.
Any signs of any viable hypothesis in the entire history of the fields of astronomy, cosmology, or astrophysics?
One of the best questions on our housekeeping is that one. I've been asking it in chat on a different channel, and I'm getting so much pushback on it. They don't even know what I'm talking about, but it should be very clear that they don't have it.
But if those are supposed to be scientific, aren't they supposed to have hypotheses then?
This is what I commented back. I said, how can you say you're doing science without the scientific method in play? Where's the hypothesis? Where's your prediction? Where's the DV, IV, CV? Where's all the information that goes with it? And just observe and declare is, I mean, they're happy with that, I guess.
They don't have it. They don't have any of that.
Well, I think
they
we
say
need to get
science.
better.
Go ahead.
I think we need to get better at keeping the references for where this is. They just don't believe us when we say that we know what quote unquote science is versus what they. I think well to also provide reference why we're.
You're very quiet. I made most of that out. Yeah, absolutely. They've taken a word that by its nature means empirical. If you have science, scientific evidence, you have an empirically valid hypothesis. That's what science is. Now, when they say science, and they don't have that, that automatically makes their claim a claim of pseudoscience. It's utilising a word that conjures the idea in the person listening to it that they've empirically valid what they state, when they haven't. And they get very annoyed when you point out that they don't have any scientific validity for their claim of science, which it isn't. Pseudoscience. Hey, Arwin.
Oh, yeah, hello. Good afternoon.
Mention that Arwin is ace.
Thank you.
Any evidence of a self-perpetuating molten iron core at the centre of the presupposed spherical Earth?
No. No.
No, not at all.
Past its curry point.
Somebody was spreading silly rumors that they were using nukes to dig over 250 miles deep. Blah. Like, and I asked, so where did you get that?
From the movie Armageddon.
Right.
Any evidence that you can have gas pressure without the necessary antecedent of a container to press upon for all the fundamentalist religious zealots who believe the sky is a vacuum?
Oh, I'm still waiting for a demonstration of violation.
Another fantastic question that we put out there that has an obvious answer that they all avoid.
That's true. I mean, it's so funny. Like, if we weren't talking about the nature of Earth, you'd ask the same question and it would be obvious. But it's like, because they know we're talking about the nature of Earth, it's like, no. That's
Speaking
not
of the
true.
nature of
Gas
Earth,
pressure.
I learned something pretty interesting today.
What's that, Babs? Was it evidence?
So we go ahead. Sorry.
I was just going to drop in the last housekeeping question, but go ahead.
Oh, go ahead with the last housekeeping question.
Any evidence of the R value?
I'll just
Earth
carry on
radius.
afterwards.
The presupposition of the R value. Any evidence of that? Anybody? No? Great. Moving on. Go ahead, Babs.
So I learned something new today. So the ballers know that the current science for gravity isn't Newtonian gravity, it's Einsteinian gravity. So when you ask them for proof of this, they're either going to give you 10 chalkboards of mathematics, or if you ask them for a measurement or an example in real world, what they're going to provide you with is the atomic clock demonstration. So we know that time is just a concept, and clocks only measure the duration, which is basically just the transition between like night and day and the different phases in between that. So it's more important to focus on how these devices that are measuring quote unquote time actually work. So when we look at the atomic clock, basically is a clock that uses the resonance frequencies of atoms as a resonator. And according to the Encyclopedia Britannica, the resonator is regulated by the frequency of microwave electromagnetic radiation emitted or absorbed by the quantum transition or energy change of an atom or a molecule. So basically what these clocks are doing is they're measuring the resonance frequency of cesium, which are the atoms that are used as a resonator in the clock. And what they did was they took a couple of clocks and flew them in different directions in airplanes and measured the differences in time of these different clocks in different locations. And they noticed that the time didn't correlate or didn't match between the different clocks, but they never took into consideration that perhaps, these atoms are being affected by the changes in pressure or temperature, which can, in fact, affect the resonance frequency of atoms. Instead, they chose to say that it's the bending of space-time or the speeding up or acceleration that causes time to slow down. And that seems like a huge leap to make when, you're dealing with a man-made object that's subject to all these different changes in the atmosphere that can result in, different oscillations of atoms.
So where do we see an atomic clock in nature?
He's already covered that. He's already covered that.
Well, I was actually going to, I was actually going to bring up Anthony. If Anthony was here, he'd be a good person to talk about this because I remember him. He was hitting the streets debating these two students, I guess, and they were talking. They brought up the clock, and I think he was saying something about them actually calculating these numbers, and that it would take millions of years or something for it to actually, like, it's not a realistic thing. It's just
Correct.
yet another BS
Correct.
thing that we
Now
complicate
that
ourselves with. So
now
Go
that
ahead,
this one's
Anthony.
cool, let me just
Go ahead.
screen share. Bear with me a sec. Right, so because this is going to be really interesting because it just it debunks one of the two scenarios. It's one of them is silly, the other one's possible but debunked, and you can work out which one you want from your own perspective. So let's have a little look and see if I can get this to do.
Hey, Adam.
Go on.
Hey, Adam.
Afternoon, mate. You all right, everyone?
Howdy.
Afternoon, guys.
Hey, Adam.
Very well.
What's up, Adam?
Just about to have a
Oh,
Sleeping Warrior presentation, so I've got you on screen now. Do I need to make it a
Yeah.
bit bigger? I think I do, don't I? Hold on, just give me a second to get around. Ah, you're moving it.
Sorry.
Okay, go ahead.
All right, so the idea of time dilation is supposed to be proven by atomic clocks because they're that precise, this, that, and the other. And the reality is, according to the current definition in gravity, for science, for gravity, obviously it's Einstein, right? It's not Newton anymore. It changed in 1915, and it's the currently accepted position for science. Whether it's true or not is irrelevant. It's accepted by scientific consensus, and this is their model. But Einstein defines down as the direction in which time travels more slowly. So let me just go down to this part where it says in this document from George Musa, because I like George Musa. He stamps all over people like Flat Earth and stuff. But here we go. So he says the morphing of space and time is not just the stuff of exotic physics. It governs the motion of any falling object. Baseballs, wine glasses, expensive smartphones, the things that slip out your hand accelerate towards the floor, not because of a force, but because Earth's mass warps time. And then it says down is defined by the direction in which time passes more slowly. So in the context of the atomic clocks that are flying around the Earth,
Try and hold off your interruptions
right
just
now?
for now. Just wait till it gets to the end. Sorry, whoever interrupted, but carry on, Sleeping Warrior.
So if you think about the claim, atomic clocks are being flown around the Earth and they're going around the Earth on Concorde or whatever planes they were. One of them went one way, the other one went the other way, and it showed a microscopic difference in time, and they put that down to time dilation, right? The trouble is Einstein says that time down is the direction in which time travels more slowly. So if one plane's going east, for example, and the other one's going west, for example, that means east or west, one of them is down. But generally speaking, most people consider down to be towards the center of the Earth. So which direction is down again? Is it the direction in which time passes more slowly? Does that debunk the claim of the atomic clocks? Because if it does, that means Einstein's wrong. Or if it doesn't, that means Einstein's right and the atomic clocks don't prove anything. So you can interpret it however you want, but this is just directly contradicting the idea that time dilation is a thing, because the only way they could prove time dilation is not laterally flying around the Earth. It would have to be up and down.
It's crazy.
Yep.
It's
got a couple of
complete
questions for Babs.
derailing of the meaning of words.
You still there, Babs?
Yeah, I'm still here.
So did you say the effect was the time changing? That's the effect, right?
I'm not physically changing in real world, but the time shown by the clocks is what's changing.
So hold on, just one sec. So your observed phenomena would be a man-made clock changing time when moving. That's the phenomena you're observing, right? That's the effect.
Correct.
And the claimed cause of this effect in a man-made device is gravitational bending of space-time. Hey, Paul.
Hello.
Sorry, just give us a sec. We're just
The cause of the time dilation is the so-called bending of space-time.
Excellent. So we are definitely dealing with a claimed cause and effect relationship then.
Correct.
So this would definitely fall into the realm of science. Would you not agree?
It would.
No worries.
However, it's pseudoscience because they're using a man-made device as the effect, and we already know what the cause of the man-made device is.
Right. But they're asserting cause and effect and no doubt claiming this is science. The whole body of science is behind this, undoubtedly.
That is what they're doing.
So they're saying science, asserting cause and effect relationships, and then not adhering to the empirical method of establishing cause and effect. That would be science. So this is, as correctly pointed out by Babs, pseudoscience.
They
Anybody
always
else?
do that. You should know that by now.
Of course. Anybody else got anything to add on this? I see hammer time flashing away. Did you want to add something?
I'd like to ask a question concerning this. So, Babs, you said in that article or whatever you were researching that it was a microscopic change, but it actually didn't change real time. Is that right?
What I said was that they were measuring the changes that were observed with the different clocks that were placed in different locations, some in the air and some on the ground. And that's what they used to determine time dilation, that the clocks that were moving were actually passing through time slower than the ones that were stationary on the ground.
But how do you know it wasn't a radioactive decay that was going faster or slower?
Sorry, did you say passing through? Like travelling?
Yeah, like travelling through time.
Shout out to Bible literalist, otherwise known as Paula. You can't travel a concept. Shout out to, is it KP?
No, you can't.
I can't read that at this distance. Hold on, just get the other screen up. Bear with me a second. Shout out the super chatter. KP Masonry, thank you very much indeed for the super chat.
But even if it was,
hold on. Go ahead, Paul.
You can't travel time. You have to travel in space, not time, right? So even if that's true, it's space that you're traveling through.
Yeah, again, a shout out to Bible literalists. You cannot travel a concept.
You also can't bend one, and then you also can't create a device that's going to manipulate a concept. So whatever's going on in the clocks, that's not happening in the concept of time.
Define what dilation means. What does dilation mean?
Bending.
It's the action of becoming wider or larger or more open.
Well, how does that happen with a concept? Right.
And you can only do that with an object, right? An object, yeah. So concepts can't be done, but objects you can do that way.
You could do it with an eyeball.
Eyeballs are real.
The point is that they're measuring this effect using a clock. It's not something that's happening in real world. It's only being determined by a man-made object.
So how do you know it wasn't something else? How do you know that it was a radioactive decay type clock, right? So how do you know that the radioactive decay simply doesn't change itself? Why do you have to conclude
it could be several things that are causing that to happen. For one, I don't know whether those clocks are actually hermetically sealed. If they are, then they wouldn't be affected by pressure. But as far as the radioactive decay that you're talking about, it could be several things that are causing these changes to happen. But the ballers just stick to one thing, which is the bending of space-time.
Yeah,
that's all it is. And
hold on one sec. Hold on one sec. That's not the point. The point is this is being claimed to be science. Now, gauging the accuracy of a clock, you could argue that that would be technologically investigated. How good is the clock? What is the cause of the difference in the clock? This is a technological question, not a scientific question. If it was physics, Babs has said it 3 times, it would be dealing with the physical world, not a man-made clock. So whatever they claim is happening is irrelevant. You're not observing a natural phenomena. So who cares?
Well, it's still interesting to figure out the nature of this realm through this kind of thing. So what if, for example, you would use a quartz crystal based type clock? and they're specifically attuned to this pulse that is just naturally present in the crystal, and that causes the stable rhythm. So what if, for example, that stable rhythm would change? Because let's just presume a few steps farther that it was the ether pulse or whatever causing that, and that if you would go up, then suddenly that pulse would slightly change in rhythm. Well,
Okay.
somebody that would have a watch with that could conclude that time goes faster, but it could simply be that part of the technology that responds differently.
Okay, well, you've
due
answered
to-
my question by
Can't
saying it
prove
could
an
be part. Hold on, you've
can't
answered the
prove an
question.
ether pulse.
Hold on. You've answered the question by saying it could be part of the technology. So that's the first part. But the second part, sorry. But the first part, when you talked about the crystal, now arguably you could probably weasel a phenomena out of this. If you could observe in nature a crystal oscillation change, well,
Right.
you could science that. But what would you be trying to establish the cause of? You'd be trying to establish the cause of a change in crystal oscillation. And if you found the cause, you could say, if X, then crystal oscillation change. Well, yeah, that sounds like science to me. So
Hell yeah.
where in this string of complete nonsense do we establish that we've got this force called gravity exactly when we're establishing the cause of crystal oscillations? Are we not? But we could just tag it on the end. No, that's definitely not science. Definitely not something I'm concerned with.
And also, if it's time related, why are you using location to determine time or what's happening to time? It's not
No, but-
manipulating time, you're manipulating location.
No, but Paul, that is just the trick. Because of Einstein, he conceptually fused time and space, so that makes it more agreeable to make that kind of leap. Because of Einsteinian thinking, he basically did that. He fused time and space.
Just a quick shout out to JQ. Thank you very much indeed for the super chat. Dr. Herbert Dingle, former president of the Royal Astronomical Society, disproved special relativity in his 1972 book, Science at a Crossroads. You can find it online in PDF form. So I'll just repeat the title, Science at a Crossroads by Dr. Herbert Dingle, former president of the Royal Astronomical Society. Thank you very much indeed for the super chat, JQ.
Just do not understand.
You just do not understand.
I'd
like to finish my question. If it's a microscopic change in time, can I get that validated? Is that what they said? It can't be realized by us, but it's actually happening at such a smaller level, but there is a difference of some time.
Yeah,
Is that what they're saying?
Yeah, I've got a whole bag of it here for you, 10th man. A whole bag of microscopic time. I'll post it to you.
That's
Good,
not
good.
what's been
So
observed, though, is it?
here's my question at the end of that. How's that keeping the oceans from flying off?
Adam, you were going to say something?
It is
Yeah,
flying
I was
off. It's
just-
just
I was
happening
just-
too slowly.
To say that we're not observing time. That's not what's being observed. We're observing a differential in a decay rate for some reason. At no point is time being measured or observed. They're trying to equate this differential in decay rate that occurs to a time dilation, but that's not what is being observed. What's being observed is a differential when you do this in a decay rate.
Yeah, the only control there is time.
Well, no. To try and attribute time to it is what's being attempted, but there's no way of doing that. They put it within a little story that makes it plausible, but that's not what's being observed. It's not being manipulated. It's not being within the confines of the experiment. The only thing, or within the observation, all they're doing is observing a differential in decay rate and then putting a nice story on it.
Oh, and they're deducing.
Is that true? Is that true if you define time beforehand?
What is time, Alan?
Answer the question,
Alan,
Adam.
what is time?
Answer the question, Adam.
No, it doesn't make any difference.
Say it again, Alan. Sorry, I wasn't.
I think if you define, would it matter if you define time beforehand? No.
Well,
You know, something that's physical.
Again, you're not measuring time or observing the time in the observations. The thing you're observing is the decay rate.
Can the environment? I think this is what Erwin's saying. Can the environment speed up or slow down a decay rate of something?
You tell me. If you stick an orange out in the sunshine, what'll happen? Will it decay quicker than if you stick it somewhere else, like the fridge?
Time is just deduced from very stable rhythmic effects by by how matter responds to things.
It's just duration.
Whoever's snuffing and snorting, can you stop? Rakia Life. Is that a new name for you, Dave Rakia Gafford? Nice new channel, maybe, I don't know. But shout out for the super chat. He says, we observe how glorious the Creator made Earth and how man is below the Most High. Rakia Life. Thank you very much indeed for the super chat. Rakia Life.
So
Well,
so they don't have consequences.
has anyone heard about the big?
What?
Anyone heard of?
Merry Christmas.
We just hear. Has anybody heard
Owen
of
Benjamin's channel got taken?
Yes.
Oh yeah, I heard about that.
Yes.
He's still going though on his own website with his buddies, unauthorized.tv.
You backed up, Arwen?
That's a shame.
Have you backed everything up?
Sorry?
Have you backed all your shows up?
Not all of them. But seriously, I have no signs whatsoever. Not really a warning, no email, no strike, 0 strikes ever. Yeah, I don't understand at this point, but I guess I'm a too goody two shoes. I don't know.
We're on standby because obviously we got demonetized Easter time, and we reapplied after the summer and was firmly told no. So we've backed everything up just to be on the double side because we seem to fit in that category of non-monetization, and as we've had it taken away and then refused, who knows?
Well, I did
What did they
download
do?
all my Flat Earth talks, so because they were episodal specifically, and I think I should probably download a couple of early bird shows at least. But to get the whole thing on my computer, I don't even know if that will fit.
Do it, Arwen. The purge has begun.
Purge.
It sounds like it's a owner of a crop field setting their own crops on fire. That's what it sounds like to me.
Right. Well, I did a call on yesterday's early bird show, kind of to Trump directly, like, could you please stop letting these corporatists destroy this great and free speech platform that is kind of like a bit of a pride for America, that they still have that. So don't let them destroy
Sorry, that
it.
doesn't apply. It's not a free speech platform. It's privately owned.
Yeah, that's what he says, but
But it's hypocritical because if you read it in their own guidelines, it's supposed to be a free speech platform.
But that doesn't matter. They're not obliged. It doesn't matter what they say. They can change that anytime they like.
Is it official that YouTube took his channel down, or?
Yeah. So Owen Benjamin was demonetized, and then it was announced a couple of months ago, maybe 3 months ago, that if your channel was not, quote, commercially viable, then it could be removed. Well, upon demonetizing, Anthony incorrectly identified the wiki entries that are under some flat earth videos as the tramp stamp, but in reality the demonetization would have been that tramp stamp. So Adam's saying he has suffered the same exact fate. He is demonetized, that he is a quote unquote not commercially viable channel for whatever reason. I don't know what the reason for that is, and Adam's never disclosed that to me. Maybe he doesn't know himself, I don't know.
Well, we were kind of figuring this out. The refusal wasn't the same as the first reason to demonetize. I put a couple of one with a couple of different types of music on just the end of the conference last year, and that seemed to be the validation that I'd done the same video twice in different ways. Could be the only list of reasons they gave us was repetition of content. So obviously, and considering we've got like nearly 400 videos and I've probably done one slightly different 2 or 3, like 3 times, and just kind of messing about editing, just learning what I'm doing with editing and stuff. So just not really doing anything purposefully. That seemed to be the reason. But when we applied, we've been told we're not considered for, suitable.
That can't be true though, Adam. Nathan's been asking the same 8 questions for 1,000 shows.
Each
no,
and every
no, Alan, did you not
listen?
listen?
Work like that. Each and every one is unique.
That's what I said. The initial strike appeared to be me doing a little bit of editing and then putting out this video that I was just, just experimenting with, just learning. That seems to be the reason for repetition of content, Alan. Now, when we've then come back to reapply, that same reason hasn't been validated. It's just we're not chosen as suitable for monetization.
Owen Benjamin's a different case, though, didn't he? Some of the things he said were...
Are you trying to say Iron Realm's not as big as Owen Benjamin, Alan?
No, but we know the reason why Owen Benjamin was demonetized in the first instance. He was Jew bashing.
Correct.
I mean, the only thing I'd say to anybody watching that's got the slightest bit of paranoia in this regard is know the terms of service. Read them. When there's a change of terms of service, recognise that something needs to be done. You need to address it, potentially. So, for example, the most recent change in law in that regard has been the copper thing. Now, me personally as a channel, only of recent times, I am actually affected by that. Most Flat Earth channels aren't. It makes no difference. But because I've gone out and I enjoy making videos, I've gone out and streamed stuff I've done with the family. Kids stuff. Well, directly appealing to children. Excuse me. Intentionally directly appealing to children in some instances. Well, YouTube have turned around and said, if you're making videos that directly appeal to children, you've got to mark them as such. Excuse me. Now, I've decided, no, I just won't make any of those type of videos anymore. They were really only done for people who I know have families that are subscribed to the channel that might be interested in a videographer that they like. That's me and what I do. And it might be relatable to their kids. So it's very, very removed from what I typically do and doesn't generate masses of revenue or masses of interest. It's just a nice little thing, mainly for my own amusement, if I'm honest. I just like making videos. And if there's great big furry Paw Patrol characters, I want to film them. It's just the way I am. Anyway, I won't. Heartbreaking. The other day we went out to Birmingham. There was all these Lego statues. And Lego's one of the things that's come under very heavy scrutiny under the copper violations. Because there's people making adult Lego toys that technically would be hard to classify as children's content, but there's loads of children watching it. So that leaves loads of YouTubers in a tizzy because they don't know what to do. Well, me, I've just said, okay, well, I just won't make that content anymore. So I've turned off all of my children's content videos. They're just set to private now. And that's it. I don't have to concern myself that, yes, this channel is purely for adults. There is no children's content here. That's the way I've approached it. But because I've made myself familiar with the terms of service, same applied when they said they were going to get rid of people who are not financially viable. Or commercially viable, my bad. So, just read the terms of service, know what they are, and if you read something in there that goes, all right, they're going to get rid of me, do something about it immediately. You know, just don't sit on your thumbs and go, I hope it doesn't happen to me.
Well, if they give me some kind of signal that I should change something, I will definitely try to do my best to see if I can. I'm not going to censor myself in a big way, but I already try to tone down the cursing. I try to set a good example in general with behavior and all that. And yeah, I hope I'll just try to keep that up. And if I'm doing something wrong, I hope they'll tell me.
Yeah, they do. That's what I've just said, in the terms of service.
He's never read them.
You don't know that. Have you ever read the terms of service, Arwin?
Well, I did, but yeah, the thing seems to keep changing a lot.
Yeah,
so I heard.
It does. That's right. And as a conscientious YouTuber, you should be on that like flies on dog excrement. Or not. Or don't worry about it. Maybe, you know, that's my advice.
Worry about it, but
it's free. You know, take it or leave it.
I speak out about it. I try to save my stuff. Try to be careful.
I don't know how they flip this and they put this on content creators. I mean, content creators are video makers. They're not babysitters, right?
Things change.
That's not how it works. It's yeah, you can gleam over some of the opinions of YouTubers and come up with the opinion that YouTube aren't babysitters. They're already covered in that regard. You're not allowed to be on YouTube if you're under 14. That's the bottom line. You've got to be over 13 to have an account. The problem is that if you've got, like I have, my account happens to be on screen right now and I happen to leave the room. There's no kids around now, but if there were, they could potentially go and click on a video. Any video. And the chances are they're not going to be interested in the adult content. They're going to make their way to Paw Patrol on my account. And then I'm going to see them watching Paw Patrol and go, that's perfectly harmless. What's the issue? Well, the issue is that that's an adult account gathering data for advertising that's going to get played. Now, it's going to play to a child. And the data that's being gathered in regards to those viewing habits are children's viewing habits, even though everything's legit in that setup. Now, that's not YouTube's fault. Now, where YouTube have been at fault, and they've been fined for it, to be fair, is where they've told people, we're the biggest platform for 10 to 12-year-olds, or whatever they've stated to their advertisers that they're trying to pitch their product to. We're really popular with kids. It's like, okay, well, you know, you kind of brought this on yourself, but that's why they've been fined. But they've got to address it. And how do they address it? There's tens of millions of YouTubers, right? You can't just go through them algorithmically because that will never work. And if it's YouTube on the hook for this violation, then they're not going to tolerate that. So they've basically said, look, the onus is now on you. You're producing the content and we're governed by the FTC now, like television always is. I'm blowing my own trumpet, but I've said I've always tried to adopt that attitude anyway. If this was going to be broadcast on TV, yeah, I'd definitely be after the watershed. But would it be acceptable or unacceptable? If the answer is unacceptable, I tend to try and draw closes to conversations that are of that nature. If I thought this wouldn't be suitable after the watershed on a TV station. But most people on YouTube don't give two shits. They don't care. So they'll do what they like and they won't read the terms of service. So they don't even know what they're not allowed to do. And they'll just do what they think is best or not even care. And those are the people that will end up inevitably losing a channel. Now, if the terms of service change such that we are being, as is the hysteria and hype, being censored, and there's something specifically in the terms of service that you're in violation of, well, you're not covered by whatever is the Fifth Amendment or whatever, the freedom of speech. That doesn't apply here. It's a private company. So you take it or you leave it. You say, I don't want to work under those terms. That's what they are, terms of service. So you say no. That's your choice. But you don't go, oh, well, I want my freedom. I want you to do this in the way you do it on your company. No, it's their company. They do what they like. You just take it or leave it. That's your choice. I'll be heartbroken if there comes to something changing in the terms of service that means I have to pack up shop. Obviously, I'll be heartbroken. This is what I want to do. But by the same token, do I have a choice in the matter? No, not at all. It's a dictatorship.
Are there any alternative platforms other than YouTube that offer some online space that you can perhaps expand into?
Yeah, there is.
Yeah.
Yes, there is lots of alternatives that are tiny, teeny weeny little places you can go to watch videos by comparison. And unfortunately for Owen Benjamin, he's been resided to one of them now. I don't know enough about Owen Benjamin to know if he's not being held up as a general scapegoat. An example, if you will.
Not really, Nathan. He got deplatformed from Twitter as well.
Well, yeah. For things he's done wrong, and he's a public figure that's being publicly removed. Well, that's an example being held up. Now, I'm saying perhaps that's an intentional example being held up.
I think he's on BitChute or something right now. So he's going out to a really small and limited audience. And BitChute doesn't promote your videos either. So that's
He's
super
on
sucks.
He's on DLive.
Yeah, there's DTube, BitTube,
Oh, he's
there's all
on
sorts.
DLive.
I mean, maybe these will be the next YouTube. Who knows?
Here, let me put the link to his DLive account in chat.
Did I do a second shout out to KP Masonry? If I didn't, shout out to KP Masonry for the super chat. Thank you very much for your support. So somebody says stop blowing YouTube. Who said that? Workhorse. Stop blowing YouTube. They are clearly corrupt. Well, they've offered me this platform. I'm actually very grateful to them. If it seems like I'm kissing ass with YouTube, well, yeah, I am, because I think they're ace. They're not doing any harm by me. That said, I'm reading the terms of service. So, yeah, I'm happy with YouTube. I'm not in any way feeling hard done by them. That might very well change if something changes in the terms of service that screws me, of course. But as far as I'm concerned, I've got no complaints with YouTube. You know, if anything, they've got complaints with their videographers when they've just been fined, but they've brought that upon themselves in terms of how they've advertised to children. That's also very public and quite humiliating for a very large public company. You know, so this isn't something they want to be in a position of embarrassment. No company wants that. So am I defending YouTube? Yeah. Why wouldn't I? You're here now, giving me money. Thank you to Rakia Life, JQ, KP Masonry, as a direct result of this platform that I'm very graciously utilising. Oh, thank you very much, YouTube. Really appreciate it. Why wouldn't I kiss ass in that regard?
You made a very concise analysis of how YouTube targets specific demographics with their advertising. Do you think that perhaps the reason why they brought up the whole topic of borderline content and how they're not going to promote that anymore, is that related to advertisers not wanting their adverts on like 9/11 videos?
Yeah, it's directly
is
linked.
it related in that same way?
Yeah. So the majority of my videos, albeit after appeal, are monetized. I get proper advertising on my videos. Now, you can have what's called limited advertising if you have some content that's deemed not mainstream advertiser friendly. And then you get very low-level cheap advertising. It makes maybe 1/10 of the money. Well, that's because you're of that description, borderline content. But people making and producing borderline content still gets advertising on it. So, no. The purge part was the people completely demonetized. That's not commercially viable, as opposed to borderline content that's not suitable for mainstream advertising. Renault doesn't want their videos on, you know, I don't know what Spider-Man and Elsa is, but I hear a lot talked about it when this subject comes up. Apparently something not good that sounds like it's for kids. But those sorts of videos would be considered, I assume, borderline content. They're still on the platform. It's not the reason they've been fined.
Right, so it isn't really YouTube that doesn't want people to learn about all these different quote-unquote conspiracy theories. It's more so that they're losing revenue from advertisers by allowing that content to be promoted on their platform.
Yeah, if, like I say, stuff that's of that ilk can be deemed not suitable for mainstream advertising. It still would have adverts, albeit in a limited manner, put on it. But obviously that's going to be less favourable to YouTube. So they've sorted that out. And that was to retain the advertisers. So the advertisers just ran away and went, we don't want this anymore. This isn't how we want to present our product. And YouTube had to do something about it to segregate out the categories of varying advertising qualities that they could put their customers' material on. And they've done that. That's all well in the past now. It's all well and truly sorted. The ad apocalypse.
So it's really the advertisers that are behind.
But don't worry,
all of
Babs,
this.
because if you happen to be one of those people that work at YouTube and start falling for the conspiracy theories that you are, actually censoring, well, they have help and support for you. This was claimed by the lady, the CEO of YouTube, the other day when asked by one of the 60 Minutes reporter, right? With these people that are reviewing these videos, I hear that it's a thing that they start falling for the conspiracies that they're watching. And she
Well,
says,
we do
we
the
have
same
help and
thing.
support for them.
Well, we do the same thing here, Chocolate. We offer emotional support for all of the ex-Glow believers, even the ones that still claim to be Globers. We know that they're just pretending.
Exactly.
Like once you learn about this, it changes your life completely. And you can't unsee it. You can't stop paying attention to, the current contemporary discussions that are taking place in regards to this topic. So we really are offering a lot of support for those people that, are dealing with losing their foundation of reality, pretty much.
Do you remember that Simpsons episode with the cat burglar? And Lisa's asleep, snoring down her saxophone, and he removes the saxophone and replaces it with a book titled Coping with Loss? No?
I don't think I've seen that one.
Yeah, we're here to help you. That's the point. When we say share your pain, we mean it. It's cognitively painful to hold a position of belief that defies natural law and is riddled with contradiction and utilises logical fallacy. And that's going to be painful if you actually believe that stuff.
It's funny. I was just sitting here thinking about this. So this channel may not be at some point viable for advertising. I guess they don't want our money. That's what they're really saying. Because you got to have money to have internet service, to have a TV, to have anything. So they're deeming that our money is not what they really want, ultimately. That's kind of what they're saying. They don't want our money.
Why are you saying our? When, number one, I'm a completely commercially viable channel. Number two, I've got a super chat. Number three, I've got mainstream advertising on all of my videos. So our, well, if you're talking about us here and now, this is not applicable to us. This is, and saying, I was going to say it while you were saying it, Chocolate, but the same applies. Would you not say that that's a conscientious employer if your conspiracy is some off-the-wall nonsense about brainwashing people with some sort of, I don't know, let's think of something that's out there. MK Ultra-esque conspiracy. I'm not saying MK Ultra, a lot of people believe that. I don't want to piss people off, not that I've got any knowledge or understanding of that subject. But if there was something like that, where somebody suddenly believes in, or demons and devils, there was a conspiracy in that regard, that, the whole of the administration and all of our elected officials are actually bloody, there we go, there's one. What was it? Reptilians! Brilliant, perfect. You took the words out of my mouth, Chocolate. Exactly. So somebody's censoring, or as you phrased it, censoring some video about reptilian shapeshifters in the cabinet. Well, if somebody fell for that and then came away going, everybody's an alien or everybody's a shapeshifter, wouldn't they need counselling? But you're attributing it to us. Like somehow people will come across our information when I wouldn't consider us covering conspiracy. We talk about science here. This is marked as an education channel. We talk about science and the scientific method, the empiricism offered therein, and the physical and natural world, physics. That's what we're talking about. We're not conspiratards.
Well,
Should be
I'm just.
This is not a
Yeah,
conspiracy.
well, I would like to take some of the doom and gloom out of alternative sources like BitChute and Vimeo and things like this. There is a YouTuber that goes by the name of Styx Hexenhammer 666, and he's been talking about this for some years now. Like before Patreon was even blew up, he was saying YouTube, I don't know why people depend on monetization when if you don't want to agree to the terms of service, there are other alternatives. He was saying that then. He was saying that's why I will always be able to make money regardless of the content that I'm pushing, because I can agree to YouTube's terms of service while promoting the other services that I'm on. And he's been doing that. And even he's moved from Patreon to something else now. And I think he said that he has like 100,000 subscribers or something. He has the largest amount of subscribers on BitChute right now, and it's like that's got to count for something. He says he reaches, his audience. He still sells books and all of his other things. So all you have to do is be intellectually elastic. Like you just have to think harder about how you're gonna make your money out here. Like it's not just one way. You don't have to agree to the terms of service if that's how you feel. And you don't have to feel all doom and gloom. You're just gonna have to work for your audience. And if your content is good, then that's what it is. People will come to it.
A shout out to Retro Bill, who says we need to mute the voices of those who would censor us. Yeah, I agree, but no, regardless, there is no necessity to do so here. So I appreciate what you're saying. I mean, your example's just excellent, and I was going to do a similar thing with Rob Ager and say, well, just to take it away from the conspiracy part of the terms of service in YouTube, if you look at something like nudity would not be allowed, and that would flag censorship or flag the censors. So someone like Rob Ager, who I've spoken about quite a few times in the last week or two, he's got a paywall website with content you can download, and he's within his rights to have the hag from The Shining getting out of the bath fully nude with all of her skin hanging off her, and it won't flag any censors. And there's probably a disclaimer at the beginning that explains that some of the content might be, for adults only. Who knows? I don't know. Who cares? The point is, he's not violating terms of service by doing it in that way. And then when he puts the advert on YouTube, which is free for all, and has no advertising on it coincidentally whatsoever, because he's doing it as an analysis, a commercial analysis when he sells his tapes through his paywall, but a non-commercial practice when he's using other people's content. So he's got a great big clip of The Shining with one section blurred out because nudity is not allowed, and it's not necessarily conducive to his arguments or his points anyway. But on his own platform, where there aren't those terms of service, he can put that in and he doesn't have to worry. He's definitely legally covered because it's not freedom of speech. What's the other one? Fair use. So he doesn't want to flag any automated processes for fair use in YouTube, so he's limited in the amount he uses in his clips. He doesn't put adverts on them, and then he directs people to his paywall content. Well, he's never going to get removed from YouTube because he's very familiar with the terms of service, so he's blurred out the nudity, and that's it, he's covered. So he's got nothing to worry about. Now, the same applies to me as it does to him, that at some point they might change the terms of service and say, no clips that are not produced entirely by you are allowed. Forget what the rules are legally, this is what we've decided on our platform. If you're using other people's material, you'll be removed. Suddenly, Rob Ager's screwed, and so is every other film analysis channel that's out there. Well, that's just something that you have to deal with when it happens, but ultimately speaking, you can't fight their rules on their platform. And so long as you know their rules on their platform and you don't break them, generally speaking, you shouldn't have a great deal to worry about. So, that's what you've got to do.
Yeah, it's sour grapes.
It seems a little crazy,
but it's not. It's not like it has to be something that totally destroys any movement. The movement is us. The movement is the people. All we have to do is not be lazy and go where the content is going. Okay, sour grapes. YouTube sucks now.
Okay, so do something about it. Are you gonna cry until it's too late, until now we're on something else and then everybody forgets the lesson, and then here we are on some other platform learning the same lesson, going through the same thing 10 years from now? No, they're going to keep evolving to try to suppress us, and we have to keep evolving not to allow that to happen. That's just the nature of how things work, and it's how it's going to work. We have to stop crying, and we have to be proactive, like some of us are being. And thank you, Nathan, for this beautiful show and this beautiful channel. You're a very good example of how to get around the BS, because this is a very raunchy show, yet here it is, fully monetized. So, just got to get with it.
Don't thank me.
Like
Thank
this
YouTube.
activism.
I have the courteous use of this platform. So while you're saying, oh, we're being censored or giving that impression, I don't feel like I am. I genuinely don't feel like this is a censored place to be, but that's just my opinion right here, right now. So with that, I'm going to say a huge, massive, enormous thank you to all of you who tuned in live on the Nathan Oakley 1980 channel. If you're watching this on the Nathan Oakley channel, then stay tuned as there will be an after show to follow. A massive thank you to all of you who smashed the super chat, liked, commented, shared, subscribed, and all that good stuff. Of course, a massive thank you to all of today's Discord and G Plus panel for making this live show possible. I've been Nathan Oakley. Stay tuned if you're watching on the premiering stream, and I'll see you all in the next video.
Oh, what a day! What a lovely day!
Yeah, me too.
You mean on the raunchy show?
Raunchy? I heard that.
Hell
I just
yeah,
didn't
man.
address it. Raunchy? Raunchy means like blue. Sexy.
I'm sorry, did I mischaracterize it?
Well,
I mean, it gets a
Ra-
little intense here.
Intense.
I wouldn't
Yeah.
say we're necessarily censored within the rules of YouTube. However, there are means of censorship going on to try and suppress us. But as you're showing, there are ways around it to continue getting your ideas out there.
Yeah, exactly. When I'm sat playing with my nipples, I just don't put the camera on.
The fuck? Okay. Ah. Right.
But,
Well, there
I
certainly
was going
seems
to say, but even if that was the case, they were still, I mean, they're just censoring what they want. You can find nudity right now on YouTube if you want. I mean, it's not even hard. And I didn't even realize that. Somebody told me a while ago. It was like, yeah, of course there's nudity on freaking YouTube. But type in something silly like naked news or something and see what pops up. But it's like, what the hell? That's not getting
You
censored.
can find
But
anything on YouTube except flat Earth videos.
bro, you could get YouTube.
I think I'm going to start a
videos fully
channel,
nude
and I
with
think I'm
people
going
telling
to
the
focus
news.
it on. I think I'm going to focus it on channels like Neil deGrasse Tyson's channel, and
right, but chocolate. To be fair, I think those are specifically like 18 plus designated.
Yeah, but they're still on YouTube, right?
Yeah, but you can specifically designate videos as only for adults. They get demonetized as well. You don't get comments or anything else on them. It's a very similar process to the antithesis, which is the children's content. But you're limited in terms of what you can have on the video if you mark it as over 18s only, and it's automatically deemed not any advertiser friendly. But yeah, you can get adult content on YouTube.
but yeah, sorry. I was saying I still have videos that pop up from the channel Riddle and Brightside, and there's heavy propaganda in it because while they're trying to spin some fantastical story about something else, they'll reinforce the heliocentric model within that. And I'm like, that's real sneaky, and I think it should be pointed out. Like, somebody should be pointing that out. I think I'll start a channel doing that.
I mean, you might as well just say I'm going to start a channel in this subject matter then, because, got to be honest, that was the first things that I saw everyone covering back in 2014, 15, whatever it was. I can't remember when it was. I actually started doing this now, but a long time ago. And yeah, that's all people are doing, pointing out the propaganda and the lies. And that's what we do, right? When we're dissecting the assertions by Neil deGrasse Tyson when he's holding his reification of a beach ball Earth, well, that's what we're doing.
I think ODD used to do a similar to that, where he'd look at older movies and point out either globe evidence or flat Earth evidence in older films.
Yes, that's correct.
Yeah, they have just the other day, the Riddle channel dropped a video titled "Can You Really Kill Someone by Dropping a Penny Off of the Empire State Building?" And it's funny because the story is analogous to the Alex Baumgartner jump and how he decelerates as he quote unquote plummets into the atmosphere. And so where you have Anthony's explanation, they switch it around to talk about gravity, and they just quickly glaze over it, and then they continue on with this exciting, riveting story about how a penny can't really kill someone from the Empire State Building because of science. It's like, wow, I see what you did there.
Yeah, any chance they get, they always make sure to include the heliocentric brainwashing in everything, like in advertising, in movies. It's everywhere.
It's the world that's been placed in front of your eyes to blind you from the truth.
And once you see it, like, you can't unsee it. Like, I've had moments where I've tried to go back to the globe, but it's impossible. Like, you have to accept so much. Like the images from NASA, I was just looking at those recently. The images of Earth as entirety, the globe as an entirety, and they're like so ridiculous, man. It's like, yeah, it takes a huge leap just to believe,
I agree, man. There are days I find myself laughing at some of the parts of the heliocentric model. I'm like, wow, like, did I used to believe that? Really? Do people are running around right now believing this? It's sometimes I feel like it's just sad, bro. It's like, oh man, I'm sorry.
I understand why
my girl got on the. My girl overheard me talking to you guys, and she is like, it's crazy because if are we really spinning? Are we really moving through the universe? How come we haven't run into anything? And it's like, yeah, so gravity pulls. It's quote unquote mass attracts mass, but we're rocketing through space, and it's like, okay, everything is attracted to each other, but it's not. I don't get why we don't run into other rocks or space debris or anything like that.
Well, because
like
gravity
meteor-
hasn't
meteor
allowed it to do so. Gravity is selective,
meteors.
right? It'll make some things stick to other things or attract the other things, but then it'll make other things orbit. Depending on how it feels that day, what side of the bed it woke up on. It's freaking stupid.
Gravitational looming is real.
Wow.
Do I dare ask, what is gravitational looming?
Cook,
I dare.
bring me
I dare.
my Hassan Pfeffer.
Why have Globers pegged us with refraction?
I'm asking that
When you say
because
peg us,
whether
what do
you
you
look at
mean?
Ranty's long distance video photography, or whether you look at any of these channels, they'll say, "Oh, well, if you include refraction, then it's perfectly fine to see this thing in the distance that you shouldn't really be able to see." But how is that? How do you then flip that to say, "Oh, you guys and your kooky refraction"? That has nothing to do with us.
Because they've gotten us to talk about that nonsense for so long, right? Trying to fish through their ridiculous model, that now it almost seems like, oh, this is coming from the flat earthers. And it's like, no, we don't care about your refraction, man. Like, we just see it because it's there. We don't need reasonings and mathematical gymnastics to assess why the hell whatever's in the camera is in the camera. It's just there. That's it. They're the ones who need the
Something I never
refraction,
understood about these observations
super
done by
mega
Globers
looming, and all this other nonsense. That's them.
One of the things I just never understood with the observations done by the Globers is that they understand that perspective is a thing, and they know that the horizon appears to rise upward, right? But in their minds, they think that past the horizon, everything else is curving downward. So that would mean that from everywhere you observe the horizon, you're looking at a hump. You're looking at the ground rising upwards, then suddenly curving downwards. And does that make any sense, really?
It's far worse than that. Every time they say the word refraction, just imagine that they've asked you the following question. Do you accept that what we are looking at isn't really there and isn't in the position it's supposed to be? It's actually a mirage or a hologram. If you accept that, I'm now going to explain why that which you see is actually not there. Then they go on to talk about refraction, which isn't refraction, it's terrestrial refraction, the bending of light around their model. So they just don't overtly ask you, they just work from the position that you will be accepting the Earth's sphere and light's bending around that sphere, to bring something that shouldn't be there, incorrectly phrased, whoever said it earlier, something that wouldn't be there if the Earth was their model, to be clearly in a picture. Well, we just say clock, lighthouse, oil rig, barrow in Furness, whatever it is in the picture, and then state the distance. They must first have you accept that A, it shouldn't be there, and B, what is there is a holographic projection or mirage of what isn't there, because what is there is hidden behind a reification of their model. So that's quite a long... I've changed the phrasing slightly rather than just saying it's a slightly looming non-standard refraction high in a holographic projection from behind the reified edge of an Earth curve based on a begging the question, proof of nothing perspective hijacking curve calculator, because some people won't appreciate that when you're looking at just an image of something, if it's being calculated through their maths, nothing is where it's supposed to be. Regardless, it's always looming. Everything's always a mirage. Most people don't appreciate that. As soon as they invoke refraction, they're saying it isn't where it's supposed to be. Therefore, a mirage of what you're seeing. Nothing's actually there, or nothing's actually positioned where it really is positioned. Well, that's hard for some people to compute. Nothing's as it seems when you're comparing it to the globe model. That's the bottom line. But that automatic assumption is what most people fall for. Well, sod that. No, it's just a picture of a lighthouse. What's that you say? No, part of the lighthouse is being bent up and obscured by an Earth curve that's reified, and some of it's dipped below, and the top half is actually miraged up. No. In reality, for their model, it's all a mirage in all circumstances, because nothing's where it's supposed to be.
Yeah, they've hijacked the atmospheric effects that we see at the horizon, like looming. And their explanations for that is that the images that we see are distorted or stretched or warped out of shape, and they're being loomed upwards from behind the curve. So they've also hijacked atmospheric effects to their advantage.
Precisely. They've taken the effects that you can experience and measure in the atmosphere and replaced them with an arbitrary assignment of 7/6 of the radius of the model that they're presupposing, 7/6r being terrestrial, otherwise known as standard refraction. Well, standard refraction, or terrestrial refraction, are not atmospheric effects. They're an arbitrary mathematical assignment of a begging the question fallacy on steroids, 7/6r having already assumed r. That's outrageous. The fact that they can then, in some cases with Mick West, seemingly talk about the effects of the atmosphere with confidence and detail doesn't change the fact that at some point they'll do the old bait and switch and just insert 7/6r into the actual measurements that they're making when reifying a model and excluding all aspects of perspective by working in an orthographic mathematical equation. And with that, I'm going to say a huge, massive, enormous thank you to all of you who did tune in on the Nathan Oakley premiering stream, for hopefully smashing the super chat, liking, commenting, sharing, subscribing, and all that good stuff. Be sure to check out nathanoakley.com and the Flat Earth Debate Forum to keep up to date with the community debate. Again, another massive thank you to all today's Discord and G+ panels for making this after show possible. I've been Nathan Oakley, and I'll see you all in the next video.
Oh, what a day! What a lovely day!